Hello everyone, welcome back. Wisteria here. This is an original solstice tale. It's called Make Wish. Long ago, in a small village in the mountains, where everyone knew each other, and a solstice was fast approaching, something happened on solstice eve that shook me to the core. My name is Letha. Now I'm an old lady with just a story. But I lived the story. I was just 8 years old, dressed in warm coat and boots. Due to the snow, I was playing outside with my friends. My home wasn't much of a home, and as me and my friends walked, they asked how things were, and I replied, the same as ever, I'm afraid. Mum and Dad argue. Dad gets drunk. Mum gets drunk, and I'm the sole target of the bullying as I showed them the fresh bruises on my arms. It wasn't easy. I had no other family, and I don't want to end up in one of those homes, where you just get left and forgotten. Back then, remember, it wasn't really as nice compared to what it is now. You should wish for new parents. Really hard, Lil, my friend said. My nickname was Lil because I was quite small for my age. Easy to say, Sophie, but how can that come true? Well, I found a book. My mum took it from me, but before she did, I saw that you can ask someone called Krampus at solstice for people who are bad to be replaced in our lives. What is Krampus? What do they do? What is he like? Being a child, I assumed that all this was correct and easy to do. I don't actually know, because the book was taken from me before I had the chance to look. But, it's worth a try. All you have to do is make a wish at the fire at your home, but you must put out the fire so that he can come down the chimney. The fire has to be out afterwards. Like Santa, I said. Yes, sort of, I think, replied Sophie. Sophie's mum called her and I realised the dark was fast approaching, so I'd better head back myself. We said our goodbyes and I hurried on home. I opened my house's main door and called out, Mum, Dad? I actually sighed with relief when Mrs. Potter came out. Lily, is that you? Coming from the cold, hot chocolate here? Mrs. Potter was the regular babysitter when Mum and Dad were out. She was a sweet, kind lady, no children herself, and she adored children. Always very kind to me. She could never stay the time needed, but always made sure I was okay. Now, Lil, go drink that hot chocolate. Lock the door, please. I don't know when your parents will be back, I'm afraid, and I have 5 other neighbourhood children to visit. I trust you'll be okay to put yourself to bed. Yes, Mrs. Potter. And thank you, I smiled as she hurried off out the front door. I locked it immediately, and then I took off my boots and my coat, went to the kitchen to get my hot chocolate. The house, as usual when my parents were out, was eerily quiet. Just the ticking of the clock, the crackle of the fire. And as I sat listening to the fire crackle, I thought more about the wish and this Krampus, and I decided, well, I may as well give it a try. This would be a decision I would definitely regret. After my hot chocolate, it was nearly almost completely dark outside, so I went towards the living room fire. It was still burning, mostly just embers, but enough for me to make my wish. I begged and pleaded for my parents to be punished for all the pain they caused me. In a way, I did feel better about unloading my tears and burden into the fire embers and up the chimney. I felt relief, like a weight had been lifted. I took myself upstairs and put on my pyjamas, then put out the fire with a glass of water and simply got into bed. I must have drifted off because I woke to a gentle jingling sound. I assumed Santa had actually visited me this year, and I was very excited. I crept out of bed and went to the stairs to peek over the banister. Another mistake, that was. There was no Santa, but a beast that must have come from hell itself. So tall, how he fit in the house I don't know. Fur covered his body, mangled, tatty fur. Hooves for feet. He stood on two hooves. Its arms were long and muscular, with human-like hands and long black claws. Its face was like a huge goat, but much more ugly. Huge teeth and horns that curled and curled. The smell. I've never smelled anything like it in my life. I spotted a bag, an odd-looking one. It looked sewn together almost like patches of skin. The bag said, Krampus. Then I knew. I ran to my bedroom and hid in my covers. The Krampus slowly coming up the stairs, his hooves heavy with each step. It peered in my bedroom. I know it did, though I did not see. I felt it. I smelt it. I wet myself with fear. It did not come into my room, but it definitely looked in. The next thing I heard were my parents screaming. Those screams never leave your mind. They forever ring in your ears. Maybe I passed out with shock or something, because the next thing I remember is looking in my parents' room and seeing bits of them here and there, heads clean off, and the bed laid out almost as if the thing wanted to put fear in me. Their eyes wide open, a look of horror still on their faces, a contorted look right there on the bed, looking at me, just their heads. Other body parts were, well, all over, like a blender. It put them in and swirl them round and then spat them out. I called the police. I had to. Every time I was questioned, I told the story. I told it true as I have now. And here I am, still, locked. Locked in an asylum. They say I lost my mind due to trauma and murdered my parents when they came home too drunk to defend themselves. But you believe me, don't you? You know it was Krampus. Don't let your fire go out on solstice night. Don't ever, ever risk that thing coming down your chimney. The end. Thank you for listening, and many blessings.